Hello, good friends. Our last output was made in the Igbo language, and one of our associates requested that it should be translated to English for the benefit of brothers and sisters who do not know the Igbo language. And I am so impressed. I'm so grateful. You could see that I'm using the present tense because of the way I still feel about the request, that I made the decision to try to translate what I said in Igbo to English. I spoke about my discovery of why our people think. Literally, they think that the areas of the world we know as the Western world today, areas we believe that people that have this complexion originate from, whether they originated from there or not, when they occupied there, when they began to live there is another question we are not going to get into now. But light-skinned people are the people I mean when I talk about people that have skin colors like this. Our people think that the areas they control, the areas they predominate, are literally like the Garden of Eden, like paradise, like the place God lives. I narrated how the conversation even came up in the first place. A brother, a good friend, a friend for over 20 years who has lived in Europe. Of course, he grew up in Igbo land, lived in Asia, lived in Australia, decided to move back home. But because there is instability at home at the present time, he decided to stay in an area close to home. So he ended up in Namibia. And he discovered a very beautiful country. He saw some Igbos there who own their own businesses. And I mentioned that from what we know when we were growing up, and what I think still is the issue till the present time, by the time you are nudging 50 years, you should have a business, a private business. Because when you hit 50, you start going down. There are mornings you wake up not as and you will not feel as vibrant as you felt when you were in your 20s or 30s. If you have a business of your own, what you do is you make yourself a cup of coffee or tea or miriokwa. Sip it, go back to bed, and if you feel strong enough by 10 o'clock in the morning, you go to your business and sit down and think and run your business. But if you are employed, you must leave the house by 6 so that you get to the office by 8. But this brother discovered that these Igbos in Namibia, some already own their own businesses. Some are already 65. Some are 60. They are still planning to go to obodo, that is the Western countries, the countries owned by people whose skin colors are like this. We try to figure out why people that have made it, I say they have made it because they own their own businesses and there is potential for growth. Why they want to abandon everything and move to obodo, countries inhabited or believed to be inhabited by people with skin colors like this. At the end of the day, I concluded that there are so many reasons for this. One, to be honest enough, those parts of the world are stable. We cannot run away from the fact that Western Europe is stable, the United States is stable, Canada is stable, Australia is stable, New Zealand is stable, Israel is stable, Singapore, South Korea are all stable. They are stable. But there is still another reason, quite primordial. When we were growing up, what religion and education showed us was a character, a personality called the Son of God. His color was like this. The Mother of God, the color was like this. The angels, the colors were like this. People internalized these feelings and began to think that where people with colors like this came from is where God lives. So that was the crux. That was essentially what I was talking about. That people internalize the feeling that God resides in those countries where you find people with pale skins, and that this motivates, this still promotes without people even knowing the thought to leave home and move to those places. Then I also began to talk about, these things become cyclical. When you think that there is always a place better than home, a place where there is God, the motivation to work very hard and make home perfect is not there. We know about when the Igbos produced the world's fastest growing economy because Igbos had not really imbibed that education and culture that taught them, that implanted in them that their creators had skin colors like this. They had no reason to think that anybody was superior to them then. They had no reason to think that any place in the world was better than their own home. So they produced the world's fastest growing economy. But after the society took a turn, branched into another religion, which taught them that God has a color like this shirt I'm wearing, and that God lives in a particular place different from their own home. The need to do everything to make their own home perfect again disappeared. In the penultimate video, the video before this last one, I mentioned that the state of Israel had diplomatic relations with the Igbo-led region, which its economy was the fastest growing in the world. If the Igbos had continued to move at that pace, if they had not even become an independent country but had remained a region of Nigeria, they would have diplomatic relations with all the important countries in the world. After all, who makes these rules? Britain has 4 countries that go to the World Cup, but it's just one country as well. If you are strong, you make the rules. So, in order not to have the readers missing the basic reason why the video was made, it is simply a demonstration that because people think that God resides in the countries of the people with these colors, people feel that the only way they can be fully human, the only way they can live fulfilled lives is to move to those lands. And when they move to those lands, they abandon their own homes, and this is cyclical. Their own homes continue to deteriorate. And even if after they have gone to those lands, or when they have gone to those lands, they will discover that they were simply chasing dreams and illusions, because whatever dreams they had about those lands are not always real. There are laborers there, there are people that work, but because people thought that those lands were inhabited by God, people do not know that people wake up there and begin to labor for their honest survival. And before I drop what I'm saying, I will still urge you, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Bring your friends to subscribe. That will encourage us to keep on bringing this information that will liberate us from the shackles of, I don't want to mention what we are in right now, but we will be encouraged to keep on working very hard. And if you can go to Amazon, search for my name, Remy Ilona, Buy our books. They are very enriching. Thank you and have a very beautiful day.